week is done in the Canadian Premier League. That means it's just about time for match night. Atletico Ottawa 3, Valor 0. Salt Bay, the Golden Boot leader in the Canadian Premier League, and all is good in our nation's capital as they continue to lead the way in the Canadian Premier League. Welcome to Match Night. I am Gareth Wheeler. Jordan Wilson with me as per usual, and he had so much fun last week. He just had to come back and do it all over again. Gold Cup winner Jimmy Brennan joining us, and the Gold Cup is up and running. It's going to be one of many topics tonight, heavily focused on tonight's program on the Canadian men's national team. But let's start off with the week that was in the Canadian Premier League, where the CPL celebrated 1 year out from the participating host nation. Remember how I said last week's show was great? This one was going to be even better. I already messed it up. Presented by Hellmann's. Did a great job. Fan fest across the Canadian Premier League this week. And here's a look at said results. Forge, unbeaten in 10 to start a Canadian Premier League season. That has never been done before. But let's start off where we last finished off, and that's Atletico Ottawa. They are the story, continue to be in the Canadian Premier League. They're on 24 points through 11 matches played. Tonight, without Koke in the midfield, Dos Santos was out through injury. They simply don't skip a beat. Big problems for Vancouver after losing 2-0 today. And Valor and Pacific both down in the bottom three. Atletico Ottawa 3, Valor 0. Atletico Ottawa are on pace to score just about 70 goals this season. The previous high was 51 by Cavalry back in 2019. That attacking football is really coming off, and these young center backs help preserve another clean sheet for Nathan Ingham. Are they the best team, in your opinion, in the Canadian Premier League, Jimmy? The table says so.
Yeah, the table does, and the table normally doesn't lie, but I mean, you still have some good teams in Forge and Cavalry as well that are just behind them. But I like the way that they're playing right now. I like the squad that they put together, especially in the offseason. That was a team that we kind of looked at, everybody did, and said, you know, this could be the team that's going to be contending for a championship. And they're proving everybody right at the moment. They've got a good balance all over the park. Up top, they're creating goals, scoring goals. They've just got an all-round team at the moment that's just working together as one right now.
They're the best team right now, but for me, they're the most exciting team to watch.
Yeah, the entertainers.
They really are. And you can talk about the goals, but it's the fact that everyone wants to get on the ball and try to create. But then also they're unselfish with that as well. Like they're almost like as excited. You saw we'll see in a second, but Manny Aparicio, the pass to Sam Salter. It's not like, hey, we're just feeding a number 9 and he doesn't do any work. Sometimes it's Salter setting up players. Like you just see, it doesn't matter who's the hero on the day. Everyone's playing that type of football, and they're playing together, and that's just a joy to watch.
Well, it's this man here, too, number 7, Rodriguez, for me. What a great signing he has been.
Player.
He is a terrific player. He brings so many players into the game. Just his movement, his creativity, and that ball there. I mean, Manny Aparicio, we know what you're going to get with Mano. Week in and week out, he gives you absolutely everything. He's the engine of that team. Breaks plays up, and then he allows everybody else to be creative going forward.
Great celebration doing the Salt Bay. Just sprinkling the salt over top. Sam Salter breakout campaign. He's on 8. That's the most he's ever scored in a Canadian Premier League season, and we're 11 games in. Same goes for Antonoro. Players just taking leaps in terms of their game. So all is good for Atletico Ottawa. I should also give them credit because they played midweek in the Canadian Championship, went down 1-0 to York United, came back and won 2-1. They were playing a team in Valor who were coming off having 11 days rest. I'm not sure if that is what you're going to attribute the rust to. Faria going off the post. Probably should have had a couple goals in that first half as well. There's real issues at center back with Facineri now suspended for 3 games. Romeo, like that back line is makeshift to say the least, with Zachary Fernandez playing that position. I also look at their problems being the attacking third. They clearly don't have a reliable number 9 right now. Sean Hundel's fallen out of favor. And there's no one to reward some of the work that they do, because some of the overall play by Valor is decent enough, but it's in their own box and the opponent's 18 where they really struggle.
The issue with this side, since the beginning, coming into the Canadian Premier League, they don't score enough goals. That's just what it is. Like they're playing well. If you look at today, the first half in particular, I always think of like 100% chances, like those chances that you should score, and they had 2 or 3 of them in the first half. But if you don't score those goals, you get a penalty against you, you're playing against Atletico Ottawa away from home, you're going to lose that match. You have to punish teams at the time when you have the opportunity to do so, and they didn't today.
Yeah, I agree. But when I look at this Valor side, I think defensively they get caught in between two minds. It's, do we press? Do we drop off? Ottawa picked them apart. They were just waiting for them to come out just a little bit, and they broke through them so easy. And going forward in that final third, there's zero creativity. There's nothing. What do they have, 8 goals this season? Yeah. So they've got an awful lot of work to do. And I know Dos Santos is working hard trying to figure it out, but maybe you have to change your formation, change your tactics. Something has to change because this team right now, on paper, they have some very good players. Yeah. And they should be getting results a lot more than what they are.
All right, there's now a 5-point gap between Valor and 5th place York United. More on York in a moment's time. Let's deal with the other game that was played on Sunday. It was in Langley, British Columbia. Vancouver FC lose 2-0 at home to Forge. Let's start off with the positive, and that's Forge again. They set a Canadian Premier League record, undefeated in their first 10 games of the season, which is wild to me. Is despite accomplishing that record, they're still not top of the table right now. They're still looking up at Atletico Ottawa. I think the biggest compliment that we can pay them is they haven't been fully fit, and it seems like they're just still playing in second gear, that there's another level to take, Jordan.
Yeah, they're not sweating. They're glistening. Like they're getting the rust off of them. They're still trying to find chemistry in certain spots. You see even in that instance with Brian Wright, like in the box, if he's a cold-blooded finisher, he's already putting that 1-0 up early. So he'll grow in confidence as time goes on. But yeah, they're not at their best, in my opinion. One, with the players that they have, but also the way that they're playing. But still, look at this.
Yeah, I mean, this is a great goal. Masunda, 2 goals, 3 assists in 4 games since really being given his shot by Bobby Smirniotis. Jimmy, you managed in this league. I mean, 10 games in a row undefeated, very difficult to do in the CPL.
It is difficult. I mean, look, they're a well-oiled machine. They've got the right pieces, and we know what they're like. Sometimes they'll start a little bit slow, but come the end of the season, they're always there. They're always competing. And for me, I love the way that they're playing their football at the moment. And 10 games undefeated is remarkable, especially in this league, because everybody beats everybody, don't they?
Yeah.
So that's the Forge story. Same old, same old. Dan Nimick is going to step up and convert a pen. He missed his other pen just a few weeks back from Forge. No problem here. And this game was done and dusted. I think the bigger conversation piece, after we lavish the praise on Forge, is what's going on with Vancouver FC. They've scored 1 goal. This is a team that's now lost 5 of their last 6 games, and they're on 6 points this season. 6. They're a club that they've stated their objective. They want to develop young players, but at the same time, this is professional football. You need to go out and win games. Afshin Gopi is now being in charge for 70 games for Vancouver FC in all competitions. They are 17, 17, and 36. We talk about pressures that managers change, but we also should talk about solutions. With Vancouver, is this a squad issue? Is it a managerial issue? Are they in a position where some change may make a little bit of sense at this point, because something has to give? There isn't enough excitement around this team off the field, and on the field, they continue to struggle. And those two things are absolutely linked, Jordan.
Yeah, there's not enough urgency for me. You mentioned it, 6 points already, 10 matches in. You look at this team, they're on par. I know it's only going to be their 3rd season, but they're on par of having the worst season ever. I think for me, it's managerial. You look at the players in their team, yeah, they're not world beaters. I'm not looking at their 23 players and saying, oh, these guys are fantastic. But there's enough there in that squad to go and compete. What's the difference between a Vancouver and a Valor squad? Like, I think it's there for Vancouver. I just think the way that they go about it, we saw it last year in particular, just too much chopping and changing. We didn't know what to expect. They didn't really get into a rhythm. I'm seeing much of the same going into this 2025 season, where there's some inconsistencies, and players that should be playing aren't. And I feel like you can have that formidable squad if you're playing your best players, but I don't think Gottby is.
Look, I'm all for developing players. And you have to win games, because if you continue losing, you're not developing players. Yeah. Right? They're not playing with that emotion, with that confidence that you want these players to have. Because if you're winning week in and week out and you got young players in that squad, they've got bags of confidence now. They want to perform. They want to play. So you can actually go the other way and make these young players worse than what they are. So Do you need a change up top? Yeah, I think eventually you have to. At the end of the day, as a coach, you're hired to get fired. You hold on for as long as you can. And if you're not getting results, because it's a result-oriented business, then something has to go, right? Because you can't get rid of the players, and maybe it's a time for a change at the helm.
Asher Guppy's a really good guy. It's been a difficult project launching a new club from the outset, and he's been there since day number one. And is an impressive past resume as well. But I'll say this, developing players in this country, and Jimmy, you can speak to this perspective, it's not easy. And there are a lot of good young Canadian coaches that understand some of the obstacles that there are, challenges, and also some of the positive pathways that they can provide based upon their experience. I just look at an opportunity like this, young Canadian coaches. It seems like those are the individuals that you want to develop these young players and turn them into something.
Well, of course. I mean, we've been saying it for a long time now. You know, Canadian coaches deserve a chance. They deserve an opportunity. And if an opportunity comes up, you hope that you're going to give it to a Canadian who comes in, because, you know, you can relate to the players. You can relate to the league. You have an understanding of travel, how big the country is. So it's easier for a Canadian to settle in than what it is a foreigner coming in. Now, with these players, they need to be nurtured as well, these young players. And in the dressing room, you have to have a balance. You have to have a balance of older, experienced players that can help these younger players. Because the coach's voice and the staff's voice only goes so far. But that maturity and experience in the dressing room also plays a role in helping those young players.
And I think Vancouver have that balance, Gaff. Like, I think they do. When you look at Mosqueda, you look at the fact that Diaz, Campbell, they have enough data loop. They have enough players that have played in this league, but have been professionals for a while now, a few years now, know how to go about their business, and some young talents. Look, we're talking about Fotsing, we're talking about Susi, Ba. Like, these are good, talented players. I just don't think they're a unit. And the reason why maybe I'm harping on Gottby right now so early on in the season is because he's had a hand in it this time. I can understand in 2023 when you're a new franchise and you're getting acclimated to Vancouver and what life is like on the West Coast. But now you have 2023, 2024, and 2025 is looking like the worst of it. They had 30 points last year. They have 6 points in 10 games. Look, I'm not a mathematician, but if you keep that up, you're falling well short of where you need to be. So something needs to change, and it's early enough in the season now to do something drastic. So if they want to compete, because for me that fifth spot is still open, they have to do something right now.
I hope he turns it around. It's not against him, but at some point something's got to give. And that's the issue right now with Pacific and a young Canadian manager in James Merriman as well. Pacific are going through a very difficult time. They lost 3-1 at home to York United. They scored the first goal, and there was just nothing in it after that. This is a team that scored once in their last 5 games. Their attack last year was a mess, and yes, they also have lost some key players due to injury. Kratt and Quintana certainly haven't done Merriman and Pacific any favors, but this is a club that was once renowned across the Canadian Premier League for their attacking prowess. Now they're stuck in an absolute rut. Where do Pacific go from here, Jordan?
You want to see them playing a lot better football than they're doing. I mean, I think a lot of this, watching this as well, this should be a pen that could have changed, obviously, the trajectory of this game. And I said it wasn't yesterday, and I was wrong. Watching it back, it was. But for me, you look at this Pacific side, Endom is a stud, a fantastic player. He's leading the back line.
One of the best defenders in the CPL.
Absolutely.
He's great.
You'd love to see it. Chips in on the offensive end as well. But there's enough in this side to go and compete. But I just think whether it be selection, whether it be chemistry, when it comes to match day and it comes to moments in the match where they need to take care of things, Gaff, they don't, and they're falling short. And this league in football, you can't do that. You can't fall asleep for 45 minutes ever.
No, you can't. And look, I said it last time as well with Pacific. You just don't know what you're going to get with them. Every single
Well, I
week.
know what you're not going to get, goals.
Yeah.
Or
But
attacking football.
They're not consistent. You'll see glimpses throughout the match where you go, oh, this is the old Pacific, and then all of a sudden they go complete opposite, and you're thinking, who are these guys right now? That's the big issue for me right now, is that they're not consistent. The other thing is, too, when you look at your players, if the system that you're playing is not working, never be afraid of change. Bobby Robson, by the way. Never be afraid of change. And sometimes you have to change. Change the formation, change your tactics, adjust to the players to make them successful.
See, Merriman has done a lot of chopping and changing. He's looked for solutions, but then they just end up going backwards. What's even more surprising is Marco Bustos comes off when it's 2-1 yesterday. If it's not to do with injury, then what's the issue? You think Zanata's gonna, the way he ended last campaign, he's gonna get a run. He's being chopped and changing out. We've seen this across the board with this team. There's no continuity either. It's just the attacking. You cannot be bad and boring at the same time. And that's exactly what Pacific are. Yeah. Give me one or the other. Both is just a horrible combination. And I worry about Merriman as well, just where that they go from here. By the way, he didn't show up for his post-match availability either. That can't be a good sign. And we saw the reaction from Bustos a couple weeks ago as well.
Yeah.
This should be a top player in this league. So where do they go from here? I'll ask that question again.
Let's paint the picture with that. I'll just piggyback off of what you said about Bustos. You're down 2-1 to York United at home. Keep in mind, this is a York United team that was depleted, very tired, just played Wednesday in Ottawa, played last weekend in Calgary, came back to the East Coast, and then came back to, or cross country to Vancouver Island. And you guys haven't played in 10 days. You're not running this team off the pitch. Then you're down 2-1, and a player like Marco Bustos, who when he came back, everyone's like, okay, Pacific's gonna be up there now. You take him off in the 62nd minute. If you're a manager and you're down, your number 10 is a guy, and look, I'm reading body language, and when he comes off, he's kind of looking at Merriman like, what's going on? I still have a little bit left. This is the Canadian Premier League. You still have 7 days off to recover. Like, you're not gonna be, it's okay if you run him 95 minutes. Like, what are you saving him for? You need to make sure your best player's on the pitch and you find a way to compete in matches. It's very weird. It's very strange to me.
Just really quickly, want to give a shout out to York United and their players. They played in Ottawa in the Canadian Championship on Wednesday night. All those players showed up and were out in the sun for hours outside of City Hall in Toronto for the 1 year out launch put on by the city of Toronto. They stood outside, gave up their time the day after they played to shake hands, sign autographs, take pictures, knowing the very next day that they're hopping on a plane to go out to the West Coast to play a game like this. And they come away with the full 3 points. They deserve credit because it wasn't about them in that moment. It's about building excitement for the club. They're standing in the city, and those players did themselves proud. So thank you very much for doing that this week. Finally, a really good game played in Halifax. It was a 1-1 draw between Halifax Wanderers and Calvary. A reminder, Calvary last month went to Halifax, smashed Halifax. 3-0 was the final. A good game this. Diego Coimbra scores. Do you think that's a penalty right there? A little bit of a debatable one.
It's a pen gap?
No.
I don't think so either. I'm with you.
Look at
otherwise, you know Camargo. Camargo would have been going crazy.
True. I feel like you knew he wasn't going to get it, but what a ball by Isaiah Johnston to Coimbra. You like the start, Wheels, no?
I
Coimbra,
do. I do.
Telfer, the two-man up top.
I just think that when Telfer likes to tuck underneath, you need a threat over the top. That's exactly how they scored this goal.
Absolutely. It was textbook. It was a great start from Halifax. For me, this game was a tale of two halves. First half, Halifax pressed. They had the legs. They suffocated Calvary. They made sure that they were tackling, recovering. And they said, fine, your center back's going to have the ball, but you're not going to play through us. The second half, though, Calvary came to light, and they showed that this is a team with chemistry. This is a team with purpose. And they have players that will hurt you.
Yeah. I mean, Carducci, a couple big saves in this. What a moment for Adam Perlman there. Really good pickup. This is where the loans from MLS teams, like, really work. Perlman's being standout for this group. I wonder if Halifax are going to feel a little bit disappointed they didn't come with points here.
I think if the game ended in 45 minutes, yes. But over the 90, no, because Calvary, look at this. Camargo strike. This is Elva's first and second touch of the match. He just subbed on at this point, but great finish. But for me, they were holding on in the second half, Halifax, when they were so dominant in the first.
Camargo and Carducci have been both great this season. I just want to throw this out there into the ether. I want to see Elva start games for Calvary.
Who's the two
Because
up
I think
top?
they can play to the next level. I think he plays underneath Warshevsky, and Camargo steps back and plays central midfield a little bit deeper alongside Shome. They just let go of Jesse Daly this week, a player that would play a lot of east-west. They need north-south. They need guys that can, like, really add to the attack there. I think you've seen Forge do that. I would love to see what Alva looks like playing just underneath and around Warshevsky. I think that's the next evolution of Calvary, Jimmy.
Yeah, I agree a little bit, but somewhat, yeah. But I don't think Camargo, you can have him alongside Shom. Camargo is that type of player. He needs that freedom. He needs to be able to roam and find his little pockets and spaces. But yeah, I agree with you up top with Alva. I think he needs to have a shot. He needs to get a number of games under his belt, get into a rhythm, Because you're right, the sky's the limit for this young player.
I think we split the different, depending on the game, because, Gutierrez will be back, Baldisimo will be back, but that's certainly an option that they can use. And I mean, an embarrassment of riches as well with Cavalry right now. All right, that's how week 11 played out in the Canadian Premier League.